Have you ever seen someone die while laughing? Because on K2, the savage mountain, even a joke can kill you. They called him Ethan Miles, a 29-year-old climber from Colorado. Strong, fearless, and with that reckless spark that makes people do things they shouldn't. He wasn't just climbing K2 to conquer it, he wanted to make it viral. In the summer of 2024, Ethan joined a small expedition aiming for the summit. It was meant to be his crowning achievement, his way of proving he wasn't just another influencer chasing clicks. But on the final push to the top, Ethan decided to pull off a funny prank, one that would make his audience laugh and earn him millions of views. Only up there, at 8,611 meters, where every breath feels borrowed, the mountain doesn't forgive stupidity. By the time the laughter stopped, his friends were screaming his name into the wind. Because the prank, it went terribly wrong. Stay with me. This isn't just a story about a foolish mistake. It's about how K2 turns pride, fear, and humor into horror. This is K2 Stories, where every peak has a price. Ethan Miles wasn't a beginner. He had summited Everest 2 years earlier, with oxygen, of course, and had since built a massive following online documenting his climbs. His YouTube channel, Miles Above, was filled with drone shots, slow-motion clips, and cinematic narration about chasing dreams above the clouds. But behind the epic footage was a man desperate for relevance. Sponsors had started pulling out. His engagement dropped. The audience wanted something new, something real. So when his old climbing partner, Rajie Sharma, invited him to join a small 4-man expedition to K2 in June 2024, Ethan didn't hesitate. "This one," he said, "will blow everything I've ever done out of the water." They met in Skardu, Pakistan, where the air buzzed with the chaos of climbers, porters, and yak caravans. K2 loomed far to the north, a pyramid of ice cutting through the sky. From there, they trekked up the Baltoro Glacier, a surreal frozen highway littered with boulders and whispers of past expeditions. At base camp, 5,100 meters above sea level, Ethan was already filming everything. He'd set up GoPros around the tents, narrating every move. "This mountain," he said to the camera, "isn't for the faint of heart, but neither is going viral." Rajiv didn't like that tone. "You're treating K2 like a movie set," he warned. "This mountain kills people for less." Ethan laughed it off. "Relax, it's just storytelling." But the weather was already showing its teeth. Snowstorms rolled in without warning. Nights dropped below 25 degrees C. They spent days pinned inside their tents, listening to the wind howl like something alive. When the weather finally cleared, the team began their acclimatization rotations. Camp 1 at 6,100 meters, steep, icy slopes where one misstep could send you tumbling 500 meters. Camp 2 at 6,700 meters, perched on a narrow shelf, the wind screaming like jet engines. Camp 3 at 7,200 meters, where oxygen thinned and sleep became an illusion. Through it all, Ethan kept filming. He joked about frostbite, made sarcastic vlogs about how miserable everyone looked, even filmed Rajiv slipping and cursing on a fixed rope, which didn't go over well. "You think this is funny?" Rajiv snapped one night. Ethan grinned. "Come on, man, it's dark humor. My audience loves this stuff." By July 18th, they were ready for the summit push. The forecast predicted a short, 2-day window of calm, a miracle on K2. They set off at midnight, moving under a sky smeared with stars. Headlamps flickered on the black ice like ghosts climbing into heaven. At the bottleneck, the most dangerous section of the route, they crawled beneath a towering ice serac, a frozen wall that could collapse at any moment. Everyone moved silently, praying the mountain would stay still. But Ethan, he was filming, whispering to his camera. "People talk about death on K2 like it's a myth, but look at this. We're inside the myth right now." When they finally reached the summit ridge, the sun broke over the Karakoram range, pink, gold, endless. They had made it. 8,611 meters, the second highest point on Earth. Rajiv hugged him, exhausted. "You did it, man." Ethan smiled, breathless. "Not yet. I need one more shot." He set up his camera on a tripod, pointing it toward the abyss. the world stretching forever below them. Then he reached into his jacket and pulled out a small plastic champagne bottle. Rajie stared. "You're kidding." Ethan grinned. "It's a joke. Just a prop. Gonna pop it for the thumbnail. I'll title it, 'Celebrating on K2 Like an Idiot.' People will love it." He posed near the edge, helmet off, goggles hanging. The bottle froze in his gloved hands as he aimed it toward the sky. Rajie muttered, "Ethan, that's not smart. You're too close to the—" And then, a sharp crack echoed beneath them. The snow beneath Ethan's boots shifted. He slipped, just half a step. But on K2, half a step is all it takes. Rajie lunged, grabbing his harness. Ethan's camera tumbled, spinning in midair before vanishing into the void. "Pull! Pull!" Rajie screamed. But Ethan's crampons scraped uselessly on the ice. The rope went taut, and then snapped. A single scream was carried off by the wind, swallowed by the endless white. Ethan Miles, the man who wanted to make death look cinematic, had just fallen 200 meters down the face of K2. Rajie didn't move, didn't breathe, only stared at the spot where his friend had stood seconds ago. The mountain was silent again, and the camera kept recording. For several seconds, Rajie couldn't process what had happened. His mind refused to believe it. One moment, Ethan had been laughing, posing for his audience. The next, he was gone. Just gone. The world around him felt muted. The wind had died. The snowflakes seemed to hang in midair, suspended in disbelief with him. Then came the sound, a hollow thud echoing far below, like the mountain exhaling after taking something it was owed. Rajie screamed his friend's name, but the only reply was silence. He fumbled with his radio, calling base camp, voice shaking. "Base camp, this is Rajie. Ethan fell, near the summit ridge. I couldn't hold him." Static. Then a faint, terrified voice came through. "Say again? You're breaking up. Did you say fell?" Rajie stared into the abyss. There was nothing left to see. No trace of movement. No bright jacket against the white. Just emptiness. He felt his throat close. Every climber knows this moment, when the mountain claims one of your own. But seeing it happen, hearing that final scream vanish into the void, that stays with you forever. Rajie clipped into the rope and began descending, hands trembling. The rest of the team, a Polish climber named Marek and a Sherpa named Tenzin, were already making their way down from the upper slope. When they met halfway, Rajie's face told them everything. No words, just a broken look and a single sentence. He didn't make it. They descended in silence. Step after step, the wind picked up, whipping their jackets like punishment. The descent from K2's summit is infamous. Most deaths happen after reaching the top. The exhaustion, thin air, and sudden storms turn even the strongest climbers into ghosts. By the time they reached Camp 3, their oxygen was nearly gone. Rajie collapsed inside a tent, gasping, replaying everything. The champagne bottle, the grin, the stupid, careless laughter. He remembered Ethan's last words before the prank. "I'll title it, 'Celebrating on K2 Like an Idiot.' People will love it." Rajie wanted to scream, not at Ethan, but at himself. He should have stopped him. He knew that grin meant trouble. Marek spoke quietly. "We need to tell base camp everything. They'll contact the rescue team." But rescue on K2 isn't like anywhere else. There are no helicopters above 7,000 meters. No quick retrievals. If you fall here, your body becomes part of the mountain. When they radioed base camp, the expedition leader, an older British alpinist named Simon Reeve, took a long pause after hearing the news. "Copy that, Rajie. I'm sorry, son. Get down safe. Nothing more to do up there." Nothing more to do. Those words hit harder than the wind outside. The next day, after an endless, freezing descent, the survivors stumbled into base camp. Porters and other climbers gathered silently, heads bowed. The mountain stood in the distance, veiled in cloud, indifferent as ever. Inside the mess tent, Rajie sat alone, staring at Ethan's gear bag, his camera drone, a GoPro, and a hard drive labeled Summit Content. Simon sat down across from him. "You knew him well?" Rajie nodded. 5 years. Everest, Denali. We'd done it all. He was talented, Simon said. But K2 doesn't care about talent. A few hours later, the weather cleared, just long enough for Rajie to try something he shouldn't have. He wanted to see if there was any trace of Ethan. He hiked back up part of the glacier with Tenzin, following the ridge that curved beneath the bottleneck. After an hour, Tenzin stopped and pointed silently toward a crevasse far below. There, half buried in snow, was a shred of bright orange fabric. Ethan's jacket. Rajiv's stomach turned. He knelt, brushing snow away with his gloves, and saw the camera. The small, frost-covered GoPro still attached to Ethan's harness. He picked it up, cradling it like a fragile memory. The lens was cracked, but the light blinked faintly. Still recording. Back at camp, he dried the device by the heater. The others gathered around as he plugged it into his laptop. The file played instantly. The screen showed Ethan smiling at the summit, shouting over the wind. "We did it, guys! The top of the world, baby! Let's make this moment count!" Then the sound of the crack, the scream, the camera spinning in midair. But there was something else. As the camera tumbled, it captured a final glimpse, Ethan's face, twisted not in fear but in shock, as if he couldn't believe that this was really happening. And then, black. No one said a word. Later that night, Rajiv copied the footage onto a flash drive, zipped it in a waterproof pouch and placed it beside Ethan's backpack. He whispered, "You wanted the world to see you, Ethan, but not like this." He thought about deleting it, but something inside him said no. Maybe people needed to see what pride looks like when it meets a mountain that doesn't laugh back. Outside, the wind howled again, sweeping over the tents like a warning. K2 doesn't forgive jokes. Rajiv didn't sleep that night. He sat in his tent, the walls shaking in the wind, staring at Ethan's GoPro. Every few hours he'd replay that final moment, as if trying to understand why. He'd always known Ethan was bold, but he wasn't suicidal. So what pushed him to pull that stunt at the summit of K2, the most unforgiving mountain on Earth? Maybe it was the pressure, the fading fame, the feeling that if he didn't make something viral, he'd disappear. Rajiv thought about that a lot, because out here, away from the flashing lights and sponsors, you start to realize that mountains don't care about your online followers. They strip you bare, and what's left is who you truly are. By morning, Rajiv made a decision. He would return to Skardu with Ethan's equipment and hand everything to the authorities. The world didn't need to see another tragedy turned into entertainment. But things didn't go as planned. When the team reached Skardu, word of Ethan's death had already spread. Social media was flooded with rumors. Climber falls while filming video on K2. Some called him careless. Others, a legend who died doing what he loved. The truth was buried beneath hashtags and outrage. A week later, a message appeared in Rajiv's inbox. It was from Ethan's brother, Michael Miles, a documentary editor in Los Angeles. "Rajiv, I heard what happened. Thank you for being with him in his last moments. Please, if you found any of his footage, can you send it to me? My parents need closure." Rajiv hesitated. He didn't want that video to see the light of day, but after thinking it over, he sent Michael a private message. "There's one recording. You might not want to see it, but it's all that's left." He uploaded the GoPro file to a cloud drive, encrypted it with a password, and hit send. 3 days later, the video leaked. Someone, maybe a hacker, maybe someone close to Michael, had accessed the drive. Within hours, the clip titled, "Climber's Last Moments on K2, Ethan Miles," exploded online. Millions of views, hundreds of thousands of comments. At first, it seemed like any other tragic viral video. People were shocked, horrified, obsessed. News outlets ran stories dissecting every frame. But the final moments, Ethan's smile, the crack of snow, his face vanishing from view, hit differently. It felt too real, too raw. And then came the conspiracy theories. Some users claimed they heard a faint voice before Ethan fell, a whisper on the wind saying his name. Others insisted they saw a shadow moving behind him. The comments spiraled into madness. He was pushed. The mountain cursed him. "Look closely at 317. You can see something watching." Rajiv tried to ignore it all. But deep down, The footage haunted him too, because when he slowed it down, frame by frame, he did hear something. Not a human voice, more like a low, guttural rumble right before the snow cracked. A sound like laughter. He told himself it was just the wind. K2's ridges are full of strange echoes, the mountain twisting sound in eerie ways. But once you hear something like that, you can't unhear it. As the video continued to spread, brands began distancing themselves from Ethan's channel. YouTube flagged it for graphic content, but that only fueled curiosity. People re-uploaded it hundreds of times, adding eerie music, fake narration, conspiracy edits. What had once been Ethan's dream, to make something unforgettable, had become a nightmare he could no longer control. A month later, Rajie got another message, this time from an unknown account. "You shouldn't have sent that footage. The mountain doesn't like to be filmed." No profile picture, no name. The message disappeared seconds later. He laughed it off at first, just internet trolls. But strange things began to happen afterward. His computer froze whenever he tried to delete the footage. The file name changed on its own, from Summit, MP4 to The Joke, MP4. One night, unable to sleep, Rajie opened it again. But the video had changed. The clip no longer ended with Ethan's fall. Now the camera showed something else, a few seconds of static, followed by a faint, shaking image of the summit ridge. And standing there was a figure. Same orange jacket, same helmet, facing the camera. Rajiv's heart slammed against his ribs. He blinked, and the figure vanished. He replayed it. Nothing there, just snow and rock. But the timestamp was wrong. It said recorded August 3rd, 2024, 3 weeks after Ethan's death. He slammed the laptop shut. His breath came fast, shallow. He told himself it was a glitch, an error in the file. But something deep inside whispered otherwise. The mountain doesn't like to be filmed. And some jokes don't end when the laughter stops. Rajie left Pakistan a few days later, but K2 didn't leave him. Back in Kathmandu, every night was the same. He'd wake at 3 a.m. gasping for air, as if the thin air of the death zone still clung to his lungs. Sometimes he'd hear the sound, that low, guttural laughter, echoing in his dreams just before Ethan fell. He tried to move on, sold his climbing gear, deleted his social media, but his inbox kept filling with messages, from journalists, from fans, from strangers who thought they knew the truth. Was it an accident or something else? I saw another figure in the video. Tell me what you're hiding. Do you believe the mountain took him? Rajie ignored them all. He wanted no part in the circus that Ethan's death had become. But there was one email he couldn't ignore. From Michael Miles, Ethan's brother. "I know what you're seeing, Rajie. I saw it too. We need to talk." They met on a video call. Michael looked exhausted. Dark circles under his eyes, voice hoarse like he hadn't slept in days. "After you sent me the footage," Michael said, "I thought it was just a terrible accident, but when I watched it again, I noticed something. The file metadata, it keeps changing, like someone keeps updating it." "It's probably just corruption from the fall," Rajie replied. "The camera hit the rocks." Michael shook his head. "No, it's not random. The file re-uploads itself to my drive every time I delete it. And the timestamp, it updates to the current date." Rajie froze. He hadn't told Michael that the same thing was happening on his end. "Last night," Michael continued, "I played it again, but the ending's longer now. There's more footage." Rajiv's blood went cold. "What do you mean, more?" "It shows Ethan again, standing at the edge, looking straight into the camera, like he's waiting for me." The connection glitched, Michael's voice breaking up into static. For a split second, Rajie thought he saw something reflected in Michael's webcam. A faint figure, orange jacket standing behind him. Then the screen went black. Rajie tried calling back. No answer. 2 days later, he got the news. Michael Miles was found dead in his apartment in Los Angeles. No signs of struggle. His laptop still open. The video paused on the final frame. Ethan smiling. Rajie didn't attend the funeral. He couldn't, because deep down, he felt the mountain wasn't finished with him yet. Weeks passed. The footage continued resurfacing online despite takedowns. It appeared on forums, encrypted file-sharing sites, even dark web archives. Each version seemed slightly different. Colors distorted, angles shifted, shadows in the snow growing darker. Some claimed if you watched it at exactly 2:47 a.m., you could hear Ethan whisper something new each time. "Come back. It's your turn. The joke's not over." Rajie stopped sleeping altogether. He kept his laptop unplugged, his phone off. But one night, as he sat alone in his Kathmandu apartment, a soft ding echoed from his hard drive. The GoPro, the one he'd buried at the bottom of his gear bag, had turned itself on. The tiny screen flickered to life, showing the frozen summit ridge again. Wind howling, snow swirling. Then a voice, faint but unmistakable. "Hey Raj, miss me?" Rajie dropped the device. His mind screamed that it was impossible. Ethan was gone. They'd found his body. But the camera kept recording, as if the mountain itself were watching through it. He ran outside, onto the balcony, heart pounding. The city below was silent. But far in the distance, silhouetted by the moon, he saw the faint outline of a mountain, impossibly tall against the horizon. He blinked. It was gone. The next morning, Rajie made one final entry in his journal. "It's not just a video, it's a mirror. K2 doesn't kill people for fun, it tests them. Ethan laughed at it, and now he's part of it. I think it's calling me back." He booked a one-way ticket to Islamabad, bought minimal gear, no film crew, no sponsors, no fanfare. When the Pakistani border officer stamped his passport, he asked casually, "K2 again? You climbers never learn." Rajie just smiled weakly. "Yeah," he said. "One last climb." 2 weeks later, a porter found an abandoned tent near Camp 2. Inside were only two things, a half-empty journal and a frozen GoPro blinking faintly in the snow. The journal ended with a single line, written in shaky handwriting. "I can hear him laughing again." No one ever found Rajie's body. But a month later, new footage appeared online. A man in a red jacket, not Ethan's orange, standing near the summit, facing the camera. He smiles, and then whispers almost gently, "Your turn to laugh." The file was titled, "The Joke, Part 2. By the time The Joke, Part 2 surfaced, the internet was split in two. Half of the world believed it was fake, an elaborate viral stunt. The other half whispered that K2 had claimed another. The video began like the first one, just wind, snow, and silence. But this time, the camera didn't fall. It stayed perfectly still, as if someone, or something, had placed it on a tripod high above the world. In the footage, the red-jacketed climber stands motionless for several seconds. Then, slowly, he lifts the camera to his face, and for the briefest moment, you can see him clearly. It's Rajie. Frost-bitten lips, hollow eyes. But behind him, through the veil of snow, a second figure looms. Orange jacket, head bowed, watching. And then, the laughter begins. Not loud, not human. It rises from the wind itself, the kind of sound that doesn't enter your ears, but burrows straight into your spine. The clip ends with Rajie whispering one final line before the screen cuts to black. It's still laughing. No one knows who uploaded the file. It appeared simultaneously on 3 different servers, all traced back to the same IP in Skardu, at the base of K2. Today, climbers still talk about Ethan and Rajie. Some claim they've heard laughter echoing through the bottleneck when the wind dies. Others swear that at dawn, just before the summit ridge, you can see 2 faint figures, one orange, one red, staring down from above, as if waiting for the next person to make a joke. And maybe that's the truth about K2. It doesn't just kill, it remembers. So the next time someone tells you they were going to climb the Savage Mountain, for fun, remember Ethan Miles, the man who thought he could turn death into a punchline. Because up there, the mountain doesn't play along. It just laughs back. If stories like this send a chill down your spine, you were in the right place. Subscribe to K2 Stories, where every peak hides a truth you were never meant to see. And remember, the mountain's always listening.